purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
My dear Lord, you are the supreme controller of the worker, sense activities and results of sense activities, karma. Therefore you are the controller of the body, mind and senses. You are also the supreme controller of egotism, known as Rudra. You are the source of knowledge and the activities of the Vedic injunctions. Everyone acts under the dictation of the ego. Therefore Lord Shiva is trying to purify false egotism through the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Shiva or Rudra is himself the controller of egotism, he indirectly wants to be purified by the mercy of the Lord so that his real egotism will be awakened. Of course, Lord Rudra is always spiritually awake, but for our benefit, he is praying in this way. For the impersonalist, pure egotism is aham brahmasmi. I am not this body. I am a spirit soul. But in its actual position, the spirit soul has devotional activities to perform. Therefore, Lord Shiva prays to be engaged both in mind and in action in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord according to the direction of the Vedas. This is the process for purifying false egotism. Chaita means knowledge. Without perfect knowledge, one cannot act perfectly. The real source of knowledge is the vacha, or sound vibration, given by the Vedic instructions. Here the word vacha, or vibration, means the Vedic vibration. The origin of creation is sound vibration, and if the sound vibration is clear and purified, perfect knowledge and perfect activities actually become manifest. This is enacted by the chanting of the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus, Lord Shiva is praying again and again for the purification of body, mind, and activities through the purification of knowledge and action under the pure direction of the Vedas. Lord Shiva prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that his mind, senses, and words will all turn toward devotional activities only. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshram Militam Vina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotavachalam Bhagavate Guru Yat Kripata Aham Pande Shivaram Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatri Vishya Krikoshanti Devacha Paritanam Palam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarina Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prabhupada mentions here in the purport that everyone acts under the dictation of the ego. Some are acting under the dictation of the false ego, and some are acting under the dictation of the real ego. Ego means identity. So there's a false identity. In this world, everybody is pretty much acting under the dictation of the false ego. I'm American, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm Finnish, I'm European. So this is false understanding. But then there's the real ego. The real ego is that we are all spirit soul, servant of Krishna. This is our true identity. And when we act in this true identity, then we're acting in a normal condition. Right now it's abnormal. It's not normal to think you're something that you're not. Just like I was in the airport in Miami, distributing books. And one person, he was shouting, "I'm the President of the United States. Don't you understand?" And meanwhile, there's 4 policemen dragging him away to the loony farm. So he had a false understanding of who he was, and therefore he was being dragged away by the police. Or an insane asylum, they think I'm Napoleon, or I'm Hitler, or something. So this is crazy, but this is also crazy to think that we're this body, that we're American, or Chinese, or Russian. It's not true. It's an illusion. Prabhupada tells of one instance where one man, he found out that his wife was having an affair with a servant. So he took this rather in a heavy way, so he killed this servant. He was taking his body away. The police was going by and he saw the blood, I guess in a box or something. So he was caught. So when it went to court, he pleaded insanity to try to get away with it. So then the judge, he got one psychiatrist to see whether this person was actually insane. So he did his test, and then in the court session, the judge asked the psychiatrist, "So is he insane?" And the psychiatrist said, "Actually, Your Honor, what I've found is that practically everybody is more or less insane." So, if you want me to tell you the truth, yeah, he's crazy. But we're all more or less like that. So this is the situation in the material world. Because of this bodily conception of life, this illusory conception of life. And because of this illusory conception of life, we do so many foolish things. We don't know who we are, we don't know what the right thing is to do. So in this purport, Prabhupada mentions this very important verse, "Iha yasahir dasya karmana manasagira nikilas papivasasu jivan sahushite." That if one engages his mind, body, and words in the service of Krishna, one can be liberated even within this very lifetime. We don't have to wait. Prabhupada said we can see Krishna within this very lifetime. Of course, we have to be very, very advanced to see Krishna. But it's possible. It's actually normal. I was speaking last night in the program. It's normal for us to see Krishna because we're the sons, we're the daughters of God, we're part of God. It's natural. It's unnatural to not see God. So it just takes some determination. Krishna says that those who are constantly endeavoring for perfection are sure to attain such a goal. So it's this constant endeavor. Generally, people in this world are constantly engaged in trying to satisfy the senses. This is the constant engagement. But when one comes to reality that we're the soul within, then one wants to constantly engage in the service of Krishna. And therefore Krishna, he says that Tesam saratayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam yenama upayantite. He says, to those who are constantly devoted to me and worship me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. He says, I give the intelligence. Krishna is known as Diyampati. Diyampati means the Lord of intelligence. So if we take shelter of Krishna, pray to Krishna for devotional service, then Krishna gives us the intelligence by which we can get purified and engage in pure devotional service. So, of course, the mind is not an easy thing to control, as Arjuna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, mati malavadri, tasyaham vigraham, vairi duskam. Krishna is explaining the yoga system. One has to control the mind and senses. And Arjuna said, to control this mind, it's practically impossible. It's very flickering. The mind is very flickering. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati. The mind is mad. Balavad is very strong. Dridham, it's determined. And to control the mind is more difficult than to control the wind. The wind is very powerful. Who's the wind god? Vayu. And who's the incarnations of the wind god?
Bhima and Hanuman.
Bhima, Hanuman, and one more. Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya. Very powerful. The wind is very strong. Just like in America. There's about 7 states in America, in the South Midwest, called Tornado Alley. Tornadoes, every year there's tornadoes that go through these 7 states because the cold air from Canada meets with the warm air from Gulf of Mexico in this area here. And practically every year there's tornadoes. So these people's homes, they have tornado shelters under the house. They have there's a door, and there's an area there. When a tornado comes, everybody goes down into the tornado shelter, right? Protection. So after the tornado goes by, people sometimes they open their door and they look out, and whole neighborhoods are gone. Just gone. Their houses just gone, and sometimes dozens of other houses are just gone. Just flat wind. Very powerful. And sometimes the wind picks up people and cars, little cars, Volkswagen. Picks it up and it's just going around. So wind is very powerful. The mind is very powerful. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that the mind is a non-devotee. And that's why it's so hard to control the mind, to meditate, to be attentive. It's very difficult because the mind doesn't want to hear it. The mind wants sense gratification. Immediate gratification, that's what the mind wants. Immediate gratification. Now, throughout the Vedic literatures it said that one experiences transcendental pleasure by engaging in devotional service. But that takes some time. You got to surrender. But the mind doesn't want that. Impatient wants it now. And therefore Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that one has to beat the mind 100 times in the morning with a shoe, and 100 times in the evening with a broomstick. So back in the early days, devotees used to take things very literally. So every morning, devotees would go down in the basement, they would get some other devotee's shoe 100 times. That was part of the regular principle. Then Prabhupada heard about that and he said, no. You beat your mind with your intelligence. And they thought, oh, But some of the devotees, they miss that part of the morning program, going down and getting some other devotee's shoe. So we beat the mind with the intelligence. So how do you beat the mind with intelligence? Well, we have to nurture the intelligence. And what we do every morning by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, doing this whole sadhana, we're nurturing the intelligence. We make the intelligence strong, and that keeps the mind down. But if we're not hearing and chanting regularly, then the intelligence becomes weak, and the mind becomes strong. So, this hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, nurtures the intelligence, makes it very strong to keep the mind down. An example was given recently of a balloon. You put a balloon in the water, and you keep your hand on it, like the balloon stays in the water, but as soon as you take your hand off, the balloon pops up. So with nurtured intelligence, we keep the mind down. Yeah? But if we become a little weak in our intelligence due to not hearing and chanting nicely, the mind rises and causes all kinds of trouble. So we want to engage the mind in the service of Krishna. Manmana bhava, always think of me. We have to think of something. So the best thing we can think of is Krishna. Then the mind gets purified. Kamarinam katinam katinam palita doni desa pesam jata mayin gurunan Rupa Goswami says, for so long I've been the humble, menial servant of many bad masters. Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion. They've never shown any mercy to me. I've never wanted to give them up. But now, my Lord, you've given me transcendental intelligence, so I don't want to serve these bad masters anymore. Now I just want to serve you. Krishna, He's the best master. And so this verse, Iha Yasha Hirar Dasya, that one who engages his mind, his body, it's like this body here, it's not our body. It belongs to Krishna. So therefore this body should be utilized in the service of Krishna. And if we utilize it for any other reason, then it's a misuse of property. Just like sometimes here in Finland, all over the world, people go into other people's cars and drive away with it. Thieves. They steal other people's cars. So if we use this body for any other reason than the service of Krishna, if we use it for our own sense gratification, then we're like a thief. Because it's not our body. It's meant to be utilized in the way that the proprietor of the body wants it to be utilized in. Krishna's the proprietor. There's Kshetra, Kshetragya, and Paramatma. There's the body, there's the knower of the body, and there's the super soul. So Krishna, the super soul, he owns everything. So everything should be utilized in the service of Krishna. It's like here in Helsinki, there's a police department. And the policemen, they drive around in their car, keeping order. They're working for the government. They're keeping order within the city. And when you see a police officer driving by in his police car, he's working for the government, keeping law and order. Now what if a police car drives by and he has inner tubes, like these beach, what do you call them? Inner tubes. You go on the inner tubes out in the ocean or something, And he's got his kids in there, and there's, he's going for a holiday with a police car. It would look very unusual, wouldn't it? On top of the car, he's got some skis, or he's got his bike up there. You're going on a holiday with a police car. It would look very unusual, wouldn't it? Because the government car is meant to be utilized only in the service of the government. It's not meant to be utilized for such good. Actually, one time we were at a concert distributing books, and one policeman thought he'd have a good time with a police car, so he started doing donuts. You know, a donut? With his car there in the parking lot. He's going, you're having a good time with a police car. And everybody's thinking like, hey, wait a second, he's not supposed to do that with a police car. So it's illegal. If the police chief had seen him doing that, he would have been fired immediately. Because it's illegal. Can't do that. So if we do anything that is not in the service of Krishna with his body, then it's illegal. And we get reaction. Karma. So fortunately, we know how to utilize this body in the service of Krishna in so many different ways, due to the guidance that we're getting from Guru, Shastra, and Sangha. So we have to gauge the mind, the body, and our words in the service of Krishna. So how can we engage our words in the service of Krishna? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that there's austerity of body, Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Socham Evacha Brahmacharyam Ahimsacha Sarira Tapa Ushite. This is the austerities of the body. First austerity is to offer respects. Just like we come to the temple room here, and we offer respects to Prabhupada, to Gaurnitai, to offer respects to God, to the Brahmanas, Deva, Dvija, Guru, Pragya, the saintly people, to bow down to superiors. Sometimes that's an austerity. Just like in the early days, 1966, Prabhupada was just starting his movement, and people would come in to see Prabhupada, to hear Prabhupada. But it was not that much awe and reverence. Some was there. They understood he was a saintly person. But then when others started coming in and showing a lot of respect to Prabhupada, understanding his position, they started bowing down to Prabhupada. And some of the early people, they were like a little surprised. Why are they bowing down to Swamiji? So at one point, Prabhupada was giving class and asked for questions, and one of the persons there in the audience said, "Why are they bowing down to you, Swamiji?" And Prabhupada said, just like you're thinking, why are they bowing down to me? Those who are bowing down to me, they're thinking, why aren't you bowing down to Swamiji? So it's very natural that when you meet a saintly person, that you bow down. That's good. It helps us to deflate the ego. Ego is a big problem. False ego is a big problem. It's very difficult to become free of the false ego. So this helps us to develop humility. Not easy. Humility is not an easy thing. So this helps us to develop that humility, to offer respects to superiors. So Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Socham Evacha. To be clean, to have a clean mind, to have a clean heart. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Socham Evacha. Socham Arjam, actually to live simply, to live a simple life. It's an austerity for the body, because a lot of people, they want to live an opulent life. Nice clothes, you know, and nice house, perfumes and jewelry. But devotees, we live a very simple life. And therefore our motto is simple living,
High thinking.
high thinking. Yes. This is our motto. Prabhupada gave us another motto. He said, our only motto should be to read the books and distribute the books. It's a good motto. Something to remember. So, Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Socham Arjuna Jnanam Brahmacharya Mahingsa Cha Sarira Taparushite. And to be celibate, this is another austerity of the body. Anudvegam Kuram Vakyam Satyam Priya Vitangtya Svajam Yasanam Chaiva Vanmayam Taparushite. These are the 5 austerities of speech. We should only speak that which is pleasing to others. Don't speak that which is agitating to others. Sometimes someone might disturb us, and we want to say something in retaliation. But a devotee will control his speech. Better to tolerate than to protest. Better to be tolerant. Anudvegam Kuram Vakyam. Satyam, to speak that which is truthful. Not easy to be truthful. There was one person who was famous for never telling a lie. Who was that? Yudhishthira. Yeah. So we have one person that's famous for never telling a lie. What does that say about everybody else? Everybody else is lying, there's white lies and black lies. There's really bad ones, and then there's little ones. But everybody's doing some lying. So to be honest, it's not easy. And Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said we should be so honest that if a thief comes to us, says, how much money do you have? We should tell him. I had to rewind that to make sure I heard that right. So we should be very, very honest. And not only honest with others, but we should be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we get this air about ourselves that we're very advanced, elevated devotees. But no, we're insignificant. A devotee never thinks that he's even a devotee. He's always trying to become a devotee. It's like Krishnadas Kaviraj, one of the greatest acharyas. He wrote on the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he considered himself to be lower than a worm in stool. Anybody chants his name, they lose all pious credits. So the devotee thinks themselves very insignificant. Never thinks they're a devotee. They're always trying to become a devotee. Satyam, Priyam. Priyam means speaking that which is pleasing. Hitangchya means speaking that which is beneficial. So, to speak that which is not agitating to others, to speak that which is truthful, to speak that which is pleasing, to speak that which is beneficial, and to always be speaking what is in the Vedic literature. So these are the 5 austerities of speech. Now sometimes when you're speaking the truth, it may not be pleasing. Right? I mentioned, I think yesterday, that if you speak the truth to a fool, then he becomes angry. Right? So sometimes it's not very pleasing when you hear the truth. So you have to speak the truth in a way that is pleasing. That's the art. That's the art of preaching. I'll tell you a nice pastime of Prabhupada. You want to hear a nice pastime of Prabhupada?
Oh.
In 1970, Srila Prabhupada, he left America after being there for 5 years. And he told all the presidents to send one man, one good person, from each temple. He's going to start the preaching in India. So many temples sent devotees. So there's about 30 devotees there traveling around with Srila Prabhupada in India. And one of them was Giriraj Swami. No, he was Brahmacharya at that time. So Giriraj was the only son of a very wealthy family, and they had great affection for Giriraj. So when he joined the Hare Krishna movement, it was a little bit startling, but they accepted. Okay, he wants to live his life in that way, that's okay. We want him to be happy, so that's okay. But then he went to India, and that was too much. So they flew to India to bring him back to America. So he picked him up at the airport, and immediately the father was trying to convince him to go back to America. He's like, how can you stay here in India, this third world country? Go back to America. Your family's there, your friends are there. No, I want to stay here. So he could see that he's not going to get anywhere. So he said to Giriraj, can you arrange a meeting with your guru? I want to speak to your guru. Yes. So the arrangement was made that Prabhupada would be there, his mother and father, he and the servant. So the father said to Prabhupada, this disciple of yours, he's our only son, and we have a lot of affection for him. And it's very difficult for us that he's way over here in India. Can you tell him to go back to America? So Prabhupada looked at Giriraj and he said, do you want to go back to America? He said, no, Prabhupada, I want to stay here with you. So Prabhupada looked at the parents and said, what can I do? You don't want me to force him, do you? No. There's a saying that a man forced against his will is of the same opinion still. So he would just leave anyway. He would run away anyway. So then Prabhupada said, well listen, why don't you take your parents to the foothills of the Himalayas. There's nice resorts there. You can spend 5 days with them. And Giriraj said, yes, I can do that. So they did that. So they went to some nice resort there at Haridwar, foothills of the Himalayas. Had a good time. And then they went back to Bombay, and Giriraj wanted his parents to spend some more time with Prabhupada. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sasukha. Lavamata Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sadiva. You can attain all perfection just by a moment's association. Actually, it's even said a fraction of a moment association with a pure devotee. You attain all perfection. So, Prabhupada was there with the parents. And Prabhupada, what's interesting here with his parents, he didn't preach. He was just talking to them, joking with them about differences between America and India, and a lot of jokes there. So he was just talking to them for an hour. Didn't preach to them at all. So sometimes preaching means knowing what not to say. Also, what to say, what not to say. So he didn't preach the philosophy. He just wanted to befriend them. And he did. They had a great time. They were laughing, having a good time, and when they left, they were very happy. They met a saintly person, they got some association with their son, so it turned out very good. So after the parents left, the servant said to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you amaze me. everyone loves you so much. And Prabhupada said, that's because I love everyone so much. So this is why this movement spread all over the world in such a short time. 12 years, all over the world. Because Prabhupada had so much love for Krishna, and therefore he had love for everyone. And Srila Prabhupada, he made so many devotees when he was here in his Bapu form. But he's still making devotees in his Vani form. Instructions. And other ways also. I'll tell you an interesting thing I heard recently. I have a friend who distributes books in Vrindavan, at the Samadhi, Prabhupada Samadhi. What a great place to distribute books. Huh? He's been distributing books there for years. And you know, if you engage in devotional service in Vrindavan, the merit is multiplied 1,000 times. So each book you distribute, it's like distributing 1,000 books. Pretty auspicious, huh? So he was distributing books there, just on the second level there of Prabhupada's Samadhi. And he saw one lady there. She looked like she was kind of lost, you know. So when he started talking to her, and he said, so why are you here in Vrindavan? And she said, well, you're not going to believe this, but I'm from South America, from Colombia. And I had this disease, this horrible disease. The doctors didn't know what it was. And it was affecting my health. Doctors didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So the Swami comes to me in a dream. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami comes to me in a dream. And he said to me, don't worry, everything will be okay. My name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Don't worry, everything will be okay. And she felt very soothed in the dream. So the next morning she woke up and somehow she was able to remember the name, Bhaktivedanta Swami. She Googled Bhaktivedanta Swami and found out about different centers, and she went on in her life. And within a short time, the disease was gone. And it was like a miracle. So she went online again about this Bhaktivedanta Swami, and she was looking at different centers, and she was reading different things, and she found out that Vrindavan was the holiest place in India, and therefore the world. She thought, well, I should go to Vrindavan and find out more about this. So this devotee was completely amazed. So he said to her, well, you know, I think that he not only wanted you to become free of your material difficulty, but also he wanted to heal you in your spiritual life. He wanted you to become healthy spiritually. And that's what these books are all about. Just by reading these books, you become healthy spiritually. And these books also teach about the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, which also helps us to become free of our material disease. So she said, yes, I want to take all the books you have. So she bought a stack of books, big stack of books. She got japa beads. And he told her about the vegetarian diet. It's very good for your spiritual life. To be vegetarian and to offer the food to Krishna. So she just absorbed everything. Got beads, became vegetarian, just the whole thing. Prabhupada made her a devotee. It's a dream. Another time, one devotee, Ganapati Maharaj, He's been distributing books for about 45 years. He's an unsung hero. Not many have heard of Ganapati Maharaj. Any of you ever heard of Ganapati Maharaj? No. He stays in America and just travels around universities. He's the one I learned the table book distribution from. I got the style of distributing from the table from him. Very, very knowledgeable, very nice devotee. So he was at his table distributing books, and one man came to the table, and he said, who was this Bhagavad Gita by? So Ganapati Maharaj, he turned it over and he saw this is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He saw the picture of Prabhupada. He said, yes, this is the one I want. This man, Bhaktivedanta Swami, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he's been coming to me in dreams and telling me to get my Bhagavad Gita. True story. So Ganapati Maharaj is like, are you serious? Yeah, he's been coming to my dreams. And I've seen many Bhagavad Gitas. This is the first time I've seen the Bhagavad Gita by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this is the one I want. Amazing. So Prabhupada, there's a statement that he reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die while still living in sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living they spread the holy name around. So Prabhupada's still preaching. And there's others. I have to fly out. There's many other stories of Prabhupada going to people's dreams. And these are just ones that I know. There's so many more. So Prabhupada's still making devotees on this planet. Amazing. So what time is it now? 8:30?
Yeah,
You take one or two questions. Any question anybody might have? Comment? Yeah.
Could you tell a little bit what is pure holy name, how to reach it, and how is preaching?
How what?
How does what is pure holy name and how to reach it, to hold it, and how is preaching depend on our japa or something?
Oh, actually, everything depends on our japa. Prabhupada said 99% of our advancement in spiritual life is in the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because the name of Krishna and Krishna, they're not different. By chanting Hare Krishna, the consciousness becomes purified. The heart becomes purified. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Maha Davarni Ram. Shreya Kaira Chandrika Vitarana Vidyavijaya. So this, inconceivably, this holy name of Krishna, it cleanses the mind, it cleanses the heart. We may not understand how it's happening, but I've seen amazing things happen within this movement. There's one person in Los Angeles, he was a drug dealer and took a lot of drugs. And his consciousness was just like out there. But he got some books, he started chanting, and it took some time, but now he serves as a pujari in Vrindavan. So he also distributes books. There's so many. Another instance in Los Angeles, there was one young man, he didn't like the devotees too much, and he would harass the devotees. He would give them trouble. So he would do this quite often, and devotees would tolerate, and devotees are tolerant. One time he came and he broke a window in the temple. And one devotee said, all right, enough tolerance. So he went and he started chasing this person. And he caught him. And he beat him up. He beat him up real bad. But this person was impressed. The one that got beat up. Because he thought the devotees were sissies. You understand sissy?
Yeah.
Sissy. He thought these guys are like girls, you know. But this guy came and beat him up. And the guy that was harassing the devotees, he was a tough guy. But the devotee was tougher. So he was so impressed that he got some books. He started reading the books. He became a devotee. He became a big book distributor. Of course, this is not a recommended way to preach. So, yeah, so many ways, and he became a wonderful devotee. So many. I'll tell you one more story. There was one. He was a big thief, and he was wanted. I forgot which country. Here in Europe, he was in the 10 top wanted list in the police. They really wanted him, big criminal. So he figured, they're going to catch me eventually. So he came up with an idea. He had seen the Hare Krishnas around, so he thought, I'll just use the Hare Krishnas as a front. Yeah, so he figured, I'll go to the temple and act like I'm interested and move into the temple. He's going to use the temple as a way to avoid getting caught. So he went to the temple, and he's a thief, he's a con man. You understand? Con man? So he made the devotees believe that, you understand? Con man?
Yeah.
That he's interested. And they let him move into the temple. And he followed the whole morning program. Got up early, chanted japa, became vegetarian, the whole thing. Went to Srimad Bhagavatam class. He got purified. He got purified. He actually got into it, being a devotee. And at one point he saw some devotees coming back to the temple from traveling Sankirtan. They were like really blissful devotees. So he asked them, well, what kind of service do you guys do? And they said, well, we're book distributors. I said, oh, yeah, you're very nice, fired up. You know, they just brought the whole temple alive, you know. So after some time he asked them, well, can I distribute books too? Well, you have to talk to the president. So the president said, yeah, maybe after a week or two. And he was thinking that with robes and shaved head, no police is going to recognize him. So after some time he went out on book distribution. And he was having a great time. He actually became a devotee. I mean, you got to be a devotee if you're going to distribute books. You know, there's just no question of it. So he was distributing books and having a great time. He was very happy. But at one point, one policeman recognized him, caught him, took him to the police station. Now he had been a devotee for about maybe a year. So he was distributing books for some time and chanting 16 rounds. He had actually become a devotee. So the temple president went to the police station and talked to the police chief, and he said, officer, I understand now that he was actually a thief, and he was just using our temple as a cover. But he became a devotee. That's the power of this process. He had a change of heart. He's actually a devotee. He's been living in the temple for a year and distributing books and meditating, rising early. His heart changed. He's not the same person anymore. Can you let him go? And the police chief just started laughing. He said, you don't know how many crimes this criminal engaged in. And his ultimate crime was he fooled all of you into thinking that he's a monk. He's not a monk. He's a thief. So, sorry. So then the devotee started, he continued speaking to him, and somehow he was able to convince the officer to at least give him a little less punishment. Because he was such a big criminal, they were going to take him to a place where hardcore criminals go. And what they would do at these places is they would not only was it very strict security, but they would drug the prisoners. They would drug them so that they couldn't think of how to escape. So he told, well, listen, I'll tell you what, we won't drug him. We'll just put him in the high security prison. We won't drug him. So the president thought, well, at least that's something. So the way these prisoners were being fed at this high security prison is the guards, they would just throw bread down to the prisoners and they would all fight over the bread. That was their lunch. They would fight. So the devotee, this prisoner who had become a devotee, he saw this whole scene and he thought, I've got to change this. So he was preaching to them. He became a good preacher also. Within that year, he became a good preacher, a book distributor. So he was winning friends. So after some time, he said, listen guys, why don't we do something? Let's change this whole distribution of food. When they throw the bread down, let's catch it. Okay? And I'm going to offer it to God. And then we'll all share it together. Does that sound like a more civilized way to eat? They said, yeah, let's do that. So they were catching the loaves of bread, and this devotee was offering it to God, to Krishna. And he would line them up, like we should be prasadam. And everybody got the exact amount. And they were happy with that. They were just, talking and, like we do when we're having prasadam, And they became more civilized. So the whole consciousness in the prison went through a change because of this one devotee. And Prabhupada gives an example, just like in a forest, if you have a fragrant flower bush there, then the whole forest becomes fragrant. So one devotee can change the consciousness of many people. The extreme example is Prabhupada. He changed so many people's consciousness just by his pure consciousness. So the police chief wanted to go and see what was happening with this new prisoner who had apparently become a monk. So he saw how the food was being caught and distributed, how everybody had become much more peaceful by the association of this one person. And he was shocked that this one person had gone in there and changed everybody else in such a positive way. So he called the president and he said, I've seen what you were talking about. And he's not the same. He actually did have a big change in consciousness. So we're going to reduce his sentence. His sentence was like 10 years. So he reduced it to like 5 years or something. So people go through this amazing change in consciousness by association with the holy name, by association with the holy. I'll tell you one more. In Brazil, the government wanted to investigate the Hare Krishnas because it's a new movement. They wanted to investigate, see what they're about. 2 undercover policemen went in there disguised It's like this person here, just, went in there, making a show like he's a devotee. They went in there doing the same thing, but these are not criminals. These are undercover policemen, detectives, investigating the Hare Krishnas to see what they're about. New movement, it was growing. So they're doing the whole morning program, also chanting the whole thing, shaved up, everything. So the idea was they would be in there for 1 year to make a clear investigation. So after 1 year, they told their authorities, it's a good movement, and we're staying. We quit the job. We're staying in the movement. It was so good, they didn't leave, and they're still devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
It is very